Therapy can help parents understand kids with Asperger's. Self-analysis is very difficult for people with Asperger's. An email or chat room therapy can be an alternative depending on the person.
See myself clearly is a great challenge, and it's a challenge for all of us because we have a sense of self that we can develop and create that fits what makes sense to me and makes no sense to anybody else. It's like, what? You want to do what? And that's crazy and whatever. And so this other part of other people's idea of me is really two different things on many different occasions, and making that match according to where I'm going in my life is oftentimes a selling component. I'm in sales a lot because I'm like, I would like to do this for my life, I would like to do that for my life, and they're like, okay, I know my son talks about who's on the spectrum as well, he has Asperger's as well. And he's just like, I want to be a comedian. I'm like, wow, there's no part of you that looks like a comedian. And so it's that part of us that, and I think he wants to be something else now. But there's when you begin to think about yourself and think about where you want to go in your life and how you want to achieve that, there's that sales aspect of like, yeah, I see this, that other people are looking at it in a different kind of a way, and like, how are we going to make this work? And how am I going to sell to you that you should see me the way in which I see myself? Well, that's a constant struggle. That's a constant struggle. Unless you're very, very, very creative. And if you're very, very creative, then your art works for itself, and then people see that. In my opinion, Michael Jackson is on the spectrum for several different reasons. With him, he got away from much of the, he's so odd, he's so strange. I mean, there are people who definitely still say that, so odd, he's so strange, he does these weird things, because his art was so brilliant, so off the hook, that people are like, wow, I'm breathtaking, by his dancing and his music, his singing, etc. And so you come to accept him for the creativity. And unless we're very, very creative, then the way in which we see ourselves it would then bring in those criticisms about being odd and different, and it doesn't overtake that, and then we have to find a way to, and then we're supposed to have language communication issues, and so we have to find a way of conveying what is important to us in a way in which we sell other people on that, and that's a big struggle.
The goal I have is to help other people with Asperger's accept the fact that they have it and be happy about it. I remember for a long time wanting to be normal and belong, and then with training at the Warriors Cove and growing and maturing and getting older, somewhere along the line I realized that I'm never going to be normal, and then I accepted that, and now I'm happy about it.
Later on in my teenage years, and there's no use fighting it. I'm just different. This is who I am. I'm different. It's the spectrum, but I said I'm different and I think differently. It's just, it's like my lifeblood is just, I'm just going to act and do things differently, uniquely, creatively, whatever. And then it began to have a little bit of fun with it. It's like, I'm going to do this or do that and whatever it feels right, and people laugh at me, like, come on, laugh a little louder, and just go along with it. It took a while to get to that point. It was a process of saying that, I'm different and that's okay.
He has been in occupational therapy, physical therapy. I think the thing that helped the most was just, the OT was a huge step for us. I think that there is hope for every child with Asperger's, that they can learn to control their emotions to a point where they're functioning at least as well as everybody else in society. I would say now that Matthew is pretty much just a normal preteen.
A way to help people on the spectrum with how they think is called cognitive restructuring therapy. It basically takes how they think and encourages them to consider other people's perspectives and ask questions and clarifications to make sure they're understanding. It's learning how to read social cues. People on the spectrum don't normally learn these social rules intuitively, so this is giving them a logical strategy of what to do.
Anything to deal with cognitive behaviors, looking at our self-talk, examining why we think the things that we do are particularly important for people on the spectrum. That's helpful for Asperger's, it's helpful for depression, it's helpful for anxiety. And some of the things that we learned in school. I think with the lower functioning, I'm very biased towards floor time. Floor time DIR, direct intervention relationship, I think is really helpful at helping that child develop language and to begin to socialize with the other person. I take that over behavioral approaches anytime.
There are many programs out there. There are so many programs, and in fact, many programs actually exist for different symptoms of autism, for autism in general. But you have to remember, autism is not just one thing, it's very diverse. Many of those programs are there for different variants of autism. And no one program works for every person with autism, neither does any one program, in many cases, help a person with every symptom of autism. There are programs like auditory integration training, therapeutic listening, that help children with sensitive hearing and autism. Speech therapy to help children with language difficulties. Occupational and physical therapy to help people with autism with a lot of the motor coordination issues they might have. Some of the muscle challenges. Some people with autism have lower muscular strength because in some cases a person's body cannot always build muscle when they're autistic. Then there are therapies like the brain balance therapies to help children with autism balance the function in their brain. Brain activities, play therapy for kids with autism who don't have a lot of friends and just need help learning how to play. The idea is a professional facilitates the play, protects the kid from being bullied, and thus creates an environment where the child can learn how to play. There are a lot of resources and programs out there. The key, if you want to help yourself, find the program that works for you. What matters is it working? Is it helping you? Counseling can be very important for people with autism, especially if that person with autism does not have a lot of friends or people they can talk to regarding autism or some of the issues they're going through, especially too if they're going through an issue that not everyone will listen to.
For the past 3 years, every summer we have hired a PCA who's a personal caregiver, and we get the PCA hours through his medical assistants. And what she does is she watches Matthew at the time that we're at work. Her main job is to keep him safe, keep him off the computer, get him outside and get him active as much as possible. Medical assistance helps a lot. They pick up anything that your insurance doesn't cover. So basically all of his treatments are free.
There are also support groups. In my senior year of high school, my dad and I found an Asperger support group. So we went, and it was mostly parents, and then them meeting me. Their kids were elementary school age, so meeting a young adult that was functional and competent and on his way to college, it gave them hope for their own kids. And the whole point of me making this documentary is I want to give that hope to a wide audience.
You could go onto a chat board and just say, my son's driving me crazy, he's doing this, he's doing that, and all of a sudden 20 people would come in, my child do this too, this works, this works, this works. Here were people who were actually living the same life I was living. It was a place where you could talk about anything and you were never judged because everybody had been there.